wakefulness. That is the, yeah. So there is this moment of simple wakefulness when you wake up from sleep, where there is no association, there is no individuality, there is simple awareness, there is no sense of enjoying or a relation, there is no idea, there is no experience of oneself in relation with anything. There is just a pure experience of oneself as awareness. If you have enough practice in contemplation, you can get this moment, you can experience that. It's called avasthatraya prakriya. Okay, so when you get that, when you analyze that experience, and then how the individuality constructs itself in a relationship with the content that emerges in the field of consciousness as you wake up and open your eyes and relate to the world. If you are aware of the process, you can see how the individuality constructs itself, how you lend existence to everything. This can be seen as it is verbatim, it can be seen. Provided it just requires a little bit of practice, not a big deal. Okay, so it is we who lend existence to what is not us. So whenever we are having an experience, there is an object and there is a kind of me in relationship with the object. A simple thing that we can, and how we can understand in our everyday life, whenever you come in front of a person with whom you are relating, let us say your mother, your father, your child, your friend, your husband or wife, your guru, in front of whoever you come, or a stranger, a pleasant stranger, an unpleasant stranger. So the moment you come in front of somebody, that person invokes a certain kind of you in relationship with them. It happens automatically based on your conditioning, based on the self-concept that you have created in relationship with that person, or based on whatever is your conditioning about personalities, whatever, based on all the programming inside, a specific you in relationship with that person pops up, awakens, and then that pushes you to interact with that person in a certain way. It'll be very interesting if you observe this. We never observe this side. We never observe the subject side of an experience in our everyday life. If we create a habit, we will understand a lot of things about how we sustain what is false and how important it is to let go of false, because how much unnecessary struggle this false is putting. Sustaining the false is making us struggle so much in life for nothing, for no reason. There is, it just sustains your imagine, it just feeds your imagination, your imagined success, your imagined uh, peace, or your imagined sense of security. Because the false cannot feed you, false can only comfort you, probably. So what happens is, somewhere down the line, because of the impact of the experiences, because of the ignorance, because of the insecurities that we have, because of the uncertainty associated with life, when combined with our desire for certain type of experiences, we have started choosing comfort. We have started choosing psychological comfort over truth. There is a psychological comfort in telling the truth, in realizing the truth, in appreciating the truth of a situation. Yes, but sometimes it might be challenging to our desire. It's like it all starts when you are a child and you wanted a sweet. You wanted a sweet. You are not supposed to eat that sweet before food. Because if you eat sweet, you will not eat the food. So your mother has told you, don't eat that sweet. The sweet is only after food, and only so much, because too much sweets is not good for health. You will get worm. They'll tell you all stories. Worms in the stomach. You will get that bug in your teeth and all that. But sometimes it is not entirely true. But still, overall, eating too many sweets is not good for the child. Sugar high and all that, we know. So as a child, you are told, don't eat this sweet. But you see the sweet, you want the sweet, you see that the mother has gone somewhere out, the sweet is there in front of you. Now, there is this video where they leave some sweets in front of the kid and told not to eat. And then the mother goes and the child is looking at the sweet, takes some time, and tries to resist it. And then after some time, it cannot resist and it eats the sweet. But it looks very cute. But that is how we create what is called as cognitive dissonance. That's how we create the samsara. That's how we create that life of struggle based on falsehood. Because the mother is gone, you should not eat the sweet, but you want the sweet. Then you eat the sweet. The moment you eat the sweet, that pleasure principle is satisfied. Once that pleasure principle is satisfied, what are you left with? If you eat the sweet at the time it is supposed to be eaten with permission, you feel good, you enjoy the sweet, you smile. But you eat the sweet in the wrong time, the kid that swallows that sweet hurriedly before the mother comes, the child eats the sweet. Once that sweet taste is over, once the desire is over, the child is full of tension. There is a cognitive dissonance, there is guilt. And it gives that uh, uh, the thief kind of a look, and then tries to cover up and says, no, I don't know. The kaka came and took the sweet, some stupid lie, because a child cannot lie so well like us. And then, the mother confronts it, and then eventually it admits and then cries and says sorry and all that. And then the mother, fear of punishment is there. So what happens? The mother has to somehow make the child comfortable and say, there is a compassionate mother. Yeah, okay, no problem. I know, see, it is so difficult. There is a nice way of making the child comfortable with the truth and accept that it made a mistake, and then try to make some effort to be responsible next time and all that. Now, this is a very child stealing the sweet is a very simple example. We also do that in the second childhood. They always show diabetic old man in the house, diabetic. He goes to the fridge and steals some laddu, and then there was a advertisement about sweets, gulab jamuns made specially for diabetic people, with the stevia or whatever. So then they show that Tata is going and stealing the gulab jamun usually, but then the daughter-in-law finds that, and then she keeps it all in the open and says, "No, see, now you don't have to steal and eat. You can eat happily in front of everyone. So you don't have to be guilty to eat, because you can indulge in the gulab jamun. It doesn't have sugar. You can indulge in the gulab jamun without guilt." So the Tata is very happy. But that is advertised. Long back it came. Yeah. So what we do is, the moment we try to cover up the truth because of desire. This is a very simple thing that I have said. But if you really think about, there are a lot of serious mess going on so many fronts. And the most complicated mess of sustaining the falsehood, the difficulty, the recognizing the false as false, this saint, Nisargadatta Maharaj, he said very easily. But to recognize that the false as false, for the child to recognize and be vocal about, yes, I stole the sweet because I wanted it, it's a very big deal. For that simple child is eating the sweet. Now imagine if you have invested a lot of time sustaining a fake relationship, sustaining a fake career that does not match your deepest core nature. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I think it is not there anymore. Hopefully not in the majority, at least. Engineer, doctor. If I don't become an engineer or a doctor, I am basically useless. So I have to become an engineer. Possible, I have to go to IIT, and then I have to go to US, get an MS degree. Then there is always some 2-3 kids in the family who are getting into Ivy League. and they annoy you to no end. That parents come here with their mark sheet, and then the fellow is all 95, 99. Then your head starts rolling after the exam. So, in my generation, when I was a school kid, it's engineer, doctor. Similarly, every state has their own thing. And I heard in Australia, it is law, medicine, law, and after that, other things. Accounting, and then only after that. So depending on the society where you are, there are certain things. Only if you do that, you have a good career. That pressure is there. Then your self-image as a failure or a success is dependent on that. So what you actually want is to have a good, positive self-image. But then that seems to be possible only by pursuing what does not match. What does not match with your nature. Probably if you had been something, if you had embraced your most natural potential and talent, you could have excelled in whatever field. And then on top of that, this is one. And then on top of that, there is economic insecurity. Then you see, this AI is going to, nowadays it is there. AI is going to take up all the jobs. So you see, what are the jobs that are AI proof in the next 20 years and 30 years? So you have to, all the kids of these days have to do the career planning based on that. So if you are in middle age, you are in the middle of your career, you have to plan so that you don't become obsolete. Then you are forced to do what you don't like to do, what you are not cut out to do. What you don't like to do is okay, but what you are not cut out to do, it's like asking a fish to, a shark is very fast in water. The shark comes on the land, it will be struggling. And even a tortoise can overtake a shark on land because the shark is not amphibious. But in the water, shark is a shark, right? So you have to, you will excel only for what you are designed. So one has to learn to give up the false values that have been created around us because of this modern life. There is a lot of false values on so many fronts. There is a whole layer after layer of false values in regarding career, layer after layer of false values regarding what you should dress. And then it is connected with the insecurity of belonging to a group. In Western countries, there are these cults based on this Gothic dressing group is there, and then there is this corporate dressing group is there. So in countries like America, I heard, if you don't dress in an exactly certain kind of way, you will not, you will not be able to socialize with a given group, even if that is necessary. Even if you're a nice person and everything, if you have to gel, if you have to belong to a group, you will have to dress exactly in that way. Suppose if you don't wear a certain level of branded shoes or accessories and all that, you will not be allowed to enter some, a party or a gathering or a meeting. You will not be allowed. There will be these people who are in the front who will look at you top to down, and you will be judged exactly according to what you wear. So we have that in every society. I gave a Western example because usually we have a fake idea that Western society is very free, which is not. So they are completely stuck on so many levels, including the religion. So I gave the Western example. So there is a huge pressure to sustain what is false. There's women wearing high heels, for example. If you don't wear high heels and walk in a certain way, and you are not able to carry yourself in a 6-inch high heel or what, a 3-inch high heel or whatever, you are considered as you are considered like a cow. There are some expressions. You are considered like this country woman or a farm hand or something. You are not sophisticated enough, not stylish enough. Oh, and they want to appreciate somebody who is very trendy and stylish. Oh, she can carry herself totally at ease. Effortlessly she carries herself on a 4-inch heel, high heels, narrow heels. She just walks, and it's like everybody's wow. That's a culture. So similarly, you can say, if if a girl is not able to wear a sari, a girl is like 21, 22, and she is not comfortable wearing a sari. She takes 4 hours to tie the sari, and she falls all around, and she's not able to walk freely in the sari. not able to carry the sari with you, then you will always have some neighborhood auntie or somebody who comes and says, what? She's already 20, 21. She doesn't know to wear a sari. Huh? We have this kind of things in every culture. So we have for men the same thing. So we have all these demands that to forces us to embrace what is false and to cover up a truth of what is actually appropriate for our inner peace, what is correct for us to minimize our struggle. Now, I am not recommending doing whatever we want. There are certain cultural requirements, there are certain dharmic requirements uh, that demand that we go a little extra mile and we go through some inconveniences in order to be a better contributor to the society, to ourselves, to the family, etc. So that is different. But outside the realm of duty, I am talking about the compulsion to embrace the false for the sake of self approval for yourself. So, am I insecure? Am I embracing this struggle of sustaining a falsehood in a relationship, in a situation, in a career, in anything, any domain, in diet, for example, right? So, am I embracing this falsehood because I am insecure about the consequences of living according to the truth, living according to my truth? When I say my truth, I'm not talking about absolute. My truth, when I say embracing what is good for you and embracing what is healthy for you, the truth of what is for sure what is good for you. But at least in this case, we will leave aside the cases where we don't know what is the truth, we don't know what is good. We will leave aside that. But still, there is a huge area of our life where we know what is good, where we know what is truth, we know what is the reality, and we simply cannot embrace the reality because we are not able to let go of the falsehood, because we are heavily invested in the falsehood. We are heavily invested in the falsehood, both in terms of time, in terms of resources, and in terms of emotion. There are various levels in which we are struggling to let go of what is false. An example, I'll tell you. There is this old man. One of my friends met this old man who is a trustee or something, some big position in a very famous spiritual organization, a global level spiritual organization that is built around one personality. Okay, one big guru personality, divine figure, whatever, God man, God woman, somebody, some ex. Okay, and there are some scandals and there are some things, there are some cover-ups about this person. And this old man has invested 35, 40 years, 30 years, 35 years, 40 years of his life serving that organization, serving that his personality, both emotionally, resources wise, social credibility, everything. All the eggs are in that basket. Okay. So if he leaves that, it's like all his life is, all that he lived for is false. All that he lived for is simply erased out. It's very serious. So my friend asked him, see, all these controversies, these scandals and all, do you think this is all true? Are you aware of this? Are you aware of all these lies that that are sustained around this person in order to keep that image? This old man said, yes, I know very well. I knew it for a long time now. Then my friend asked him, like, why are you here? Why are you continuing being part of this drama even while knowing it is wrong? He said, I have spent 35 years in this. I have spent all my resources in this. My whole life was around this. I cannot leave now. I have to somehow. So, in order to sustain himself, he is sustaining the lie. He has to sustain the lie because that lie sustains his livelihood. This kind of person has enough money. I'm not talking about he will be on the streets without food, clothing, shelter. He's a very rich guy. He has enough money. He can just leave and go and live by himself in contemplation and do something that he likes. But emotional insecurity of what people will think of me and what will happen, because this organization is running so many schools, so many colleges, hospitals, all the blah 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 is typical. So it's an extremely huge setup, global level setup. And if this person leaves and he tells the reason, then the whole setup falls down. It is not even just for this personality cult. This is true for so many cults. You have this huge religion that is being sustained for more than 2000 years, completely built on lies, completely based on, and it has with absolutely no spiritual core. And also, if you see in philosophies, see in this different religious groups, wherever you see a philosophical inconsistency, wherever there is a philosophical inconsistency where the knowledge is not really that deep, it is just a functional knowledge and it can get challenged upon a little bit of inquiry, you will see the rituals and the customs and the restrictions will be more, and people will be compelled to not question. The people will be threatened about consequence. Wherever you are threatened about a consequence of questioning, wherever you are threatened with consequence if you inquire into the truth of the matter, wherever you are threatened with both physical consequences and after death consequences, spiritual consequences and physical consequences, social consequences, all that. And also they will not allow you to think. The lifestyle and the ritualistic rigor around that fake philosophy is so complicated and so sophisticated. All your life you will spend only on the rules and regulations and the rituals and the makeup and whatnot, and the fashion statement and sustaining the show, sustaining the that lifestyle and sustaining that setup. And you will have a lot of ego tokens. There will be a lot of tokens for patting your back if you do this. Like you give that if a dog goes and fetches something, you say, hey, good doggy, and you give a biscuit, right? So like that, there will be a lot of the whole religion or the spiritual cult, the setup. Since right here we are talking about Nishta and spiritual knowledge, I will I will turn our attention to the spiritual falsehood. So, how to identify groups, cults, and aspects of religion, religious life, aspects of whatever goes on under the label of spirituality, religions, cults, personality cults, philosophies. You have this Advaita, Advaita, Vishishta, Advaita, this Matha, this Parampara. Similarly, you have in Christianity, you have in Islam, you have in Buddhism. So you have all these, right? Big setups. In every big setup, so if you see, there are different aspects of it. There are layers and layers built over centuries, over millennia, and over centuries. And there are so many people, so there are so many versions and so many varieties. How to extricate ourselves from what is false? To recognize the false as false, and where to get the strength to leave once you know it is false. Even somewhere, if you have a whisper in your consciousness, that something is not gelling together, something is not in place. There is a contradiction between what I study and what is being practiced. Like that, where to derive, how to convince yourself and how to spot or how to smell. How do you smell falsehood? Is main wherever the importance is more on external detail, and where there is no time given for you to confront, where there is no time given to inquiry, where you are constantly told only what to do, what not to do. You're kept there. You are not allowed to think. You are not allowed to ask questions. You are not allowed to, there is no explanation given. There is no explanation given for the fundamentals. You can ask. If you ask, they will not give all the time, because If, for example, in our Indian thing, the obedience is asked first. Trust and obedience, Shraddha and obedience. That is good. But there is a point where once you demonstrate that you are obedient, you are disciplined and everything, once once you earn your right for asking a question, we can say that. There must be some point where, after a point where I have earned my right to pose a question. For example, in Upanishad, it says, pariprashnena sevaya. After you do seva, the Guru, then you ask the question. When the Guru is pleased, you ask a question, a well thought over question. It says, Upanishad says that. Tad viddhi pranipadena pariprashnena sevaya. So, seva is required, obedience is required, yes. But there is a point after which you earn the right to ask the question. It must be very clear when you can ask the question. The Guru says, you go take this cattle, when the 10 cattle becomes 100 cattle, come back to me and then I will teach you. And then the student takes the cattle, goes and comes back after 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, whatever, 12 years. And then the Guru sees that his mind has become mature, and then he is allowed to ask the question, and then he is given the truth of the self. Then the Vedanta is given. It is one of the stories in Upanishad. Yeah. So must be some logical point after which you should earn the right to ask a question. And once you start questioning, there is no blasphemous question when it comes to wanting to realize the truth. You can ask anything, absolutely anything, and your questions will not generate insecurity in the teacher or in the setup. You are not told to shut up and do and die doing. And whatever is promised will be some non-verifiable stuff you will get after death. Wherever you are promised non-verifiable stuff after death, and nothing is promised here, and where you are not allowed to ask questions at all, you have to do and die doing, then it is a very clear signal that setup lacks the spiritual truth. The spiritual truth is not available there, because once you cross that and start encountering what is at their core, everything will fall apart, because the whole thing is sustained by a false idea. This is the hallmark of fake spiritual setup, or a fake setup, or a spiritual setup around a fake idea that doesn't have an intrinsic truth in it. If the whole setup is a way to help you to understand the intrinsic truth, nobody will stop you from encountering it, asking about it. Nobody will. No, it will be all out in the open, because the truth doesn't need to be protected. You are protected by the truth. If something is true, it will sustain itself because it is existent. A true thing is part of existence. So if something is true, no one needs to protect. The truth will protect itself, and truth will protect everybody who is coming in touch with it. So smell excessive external controls and no timeline for questioning, and huge discouraging for questioning, and complete lack of choice. They'll say that there is no choice. Wherever you are not given a choice, that means the place from where the spiritual teaching is coming is not the right place, because they are very insecure. They are very insecure, and they are very, whatever is the setup, they need you and your resources and your energy and your slavery to sustain the system. If a system thrives based on our slavery, based on our obedience alone, and it has no intrinsic truth, it will not let us have a choice. And if we exercise a choice, there will be threats, there will be no explanation. If you go this path, this is the result. If you go that path, that is the result. Now please do as you please, but this is my recommendation. That is okay. But if they say no, if you do go there, that is it, you are finished, nothing will happen, blah blah, all that threats, and then you do this only because I am telling you. Or at least they should say, you sometimes, when a person is very tamasic, we have to tell them, you do this simply because I am saying. My Guru tells sometimes, because I am saying, you do this. But after I do, the Guru will encourage me asking the question, will be ready to explain why I told you to do this and why it is okay to tell now. So what is the problem? And with the Shastra Pramana and everything. So then it is a different. But if it is only rules and only artificial setup that you have to keep sustaining without any understanding, without any philosophical base, forever in time, and you have to die doing, that is something that is built on a fake idea, which is not true. Because the falsehood needs to be sustained, while the truth need not be sustained. The truth will sustain itself, will sustain everybody else. So if you find yourself in a situation like that, in association with like that, if you find yourself in a relationship that is based on falsehood, then do your best to be more conscious of the falseness and think about pratipaksha bhavana. You might have insecurities, it's practical, I understand. You feel very insecure and all that. See what in you, instead of blaming the situation, blaming the setup. When once we recognize the setup is false, and we, even after finding it is false, I am finding it difficult to free myself from it, finding it difficult to let go of it, then I have to ask myself, what is my problem? What in me, what am I afraid of, that I am not able to let go of what I know as false? So here we are talking about, so we can start with what we for sure we know as false. We have inner indications, we have logical indications, we have advice from others, and so many levels we know that this is not okay, but we are not able to let go. Then we have to ask ourselves, what is keeping me stuck with this? Once I ask that question, then we see what are the factors. And once we address those factors like insecurity or fear or some emotional attachment or desire, you know, uh, or a difficulty to let go simply because it is very familiar, I am used to this, and fear of what will happen, fear of the unknown after I leave this, fear of being able to face the vacuum. So what I have to do is I have to create a support system that will help me handle the consequences of letting go, the emotional consequences, the sociological consequences, economic consequences, or some other psychological consequences, or a feared spiritual consequences. Sometimes I say, you just do this. If something goes wrong, the papa is on me. Just do, trust me and do. And then that gives a lot of strength for the student. They do that. Uh, so I am lucky to have a guru who said, don't worry about it. Just you put it on me and do, let us see. So I extend that courtesy to students. So we have to have a backup. We have to mentally create a backup that gives us a sense of support to deal with the inner consequences and external consequences of letting go of what we recognize as false. If you're able to do that, you will get the strength to let go of what is false. And because you have a plan B, you have a setup, and you have something to support you internally and externally, and help you go through the transition of letting go of the falsehood and enjoying the sense of relief and freedom that and the liberating energy that comes with it, and to establish yourself in what is true. It is not only for spiritual things, it is also for everyday relationships and situations, career and everything. So let us think about this, listen to this lecture again, it is in YouTube, think about this and make a worksheet. Take a notebook and write down, take every domain of your life. In my diet, start with the body. In my diet and physical lifestyle, what is all I know as not healthy, what I know as something that does not help me, what is false, what is giving me a false sense of satisfaction physically in terms of food and lifestyle and the way I carry myself, etc. In your possessions, you can start from the external most, from my possessions like clothes, accessories, and my relationships, my career, all that. Make a list in each domain, and in my physical habits, and then in my spiritual path, then slowly come inwards. My relationships, my attachments, my. And so you see what is all fake. How you are sustaining something fake in my spiritual practices? Do I have any doubt? Do I feel what I'm doing is in line with the truth? Is it, or if I am simply sustaining a kind of a spiritual slavery in some system simply because I am afraid of the consequences. I somewhere I feel it is not true, it is fake, but still I am not able to let go because of some fear of the unknown. Is it like that? No, you can ask yourself that. Make a list. You don't worry about confronting it right away. Just make a list and have a look at the list every day. And the list will, once it grows to a certain level, just write whenever it strikes in your head. Think about it. Think about what's going on inside you. And the moment you realize something, make a note of it, like a small notebook. You make a note of it and keep it, or you write it in your phone in the notes. Keep it, and then whatever is okay for a discussion in the forum, you can bring it up here, and we can discuss and see how to go about it. If you don't want to bring it up in the class, you can bring it up to me personally, or you go and discuss with somebody else whom you have the confidence that they will be able to help you to address that. Then we see how to do. And this recognizing the faults as faults and letting go of it, and by and take whatever support that is required for it, is extremely important for basic peace of mind and for true real progress and inner growth, both in material life and in spiritual life. So with this I will finish the class. If there are any questions, you can write here. One question: among the things that you have mentioned, like support, uh, sustaining the faults is the cause not getting along with the truth. What if one has the past habit, defensive habit, such as pointing others as a cause of pain, or like the way it was said is not nice, or feel of dominance makes the others to neglect truth? Huh? Feel of dominance makes the dominance from others that makes us to neglect. Okay, so you understand it is a defensive habit, so you have already recognized it as false, right? So you have already recognized it. So when you say a part, you see that as a habit, and you have identified it as a defensive habit. For example, you just make note of it as false. This is not true. What I am doing, it is out of habit. A simple recognition of it. And recognize it every time you encounter it. Whenever, every time you experience it, recognize it. So after you're done, verbally, mentally tell yourself, oh, now I have done this, or now I have indulged in this habit. So what has it given me? How am I feeling inside after doing this? Am I comfortable with this? So how would it be to consider the opposite? Let us say I may not tell the other person, but mentally, let me live the alternative situation. Mentally live the alternative situation. Instead of, I'm just using the same example. Instead of pointing to that person as the cause of your pain, mentally in your imagination, because you have, it's maybe too much for your ego to admit right away. That's all right. Mentally in your imagination, the other person doesn't know. Visualize yourself the alternate situation where you are owning up the pain and expressing yourself based on that, owning up the actual cause, the actual cause that is inside you, and what you understand as the true scenario there, what is not covered by the habit. Once you have indulged in the habit, then instead of the habit, rise above the habit in your mind, in your imagination, and mentally live the scenario where you are acting according to the truth, where you have let go of that false habit, and where you are owning up the truth and acting according to that. Visualize yourself acting according to Pratipaksha Bhavana. You do that. Every time you recognize yourself in that defensive habit, every time you do this Pratipaksha Bhavana of mentally living the alternative scenario in your head. It's a very good practice. You try that, and then you will see, you will have more inner strength and conviction to rise above the habit, even in the actual situation. Somehow you will find the strength to rise above the habit in the real situation. Right. Vitarka Bhadane, Pratipaksha Bhavana. That's how we do. Yeah. Okay. With this, we'll conclude the class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaja Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you. Please make that list that I told you, and will be very useful to do that. It's an exercise that most of us don't do. If you do that, you will see the power of confronting the false as false. Even if you don't act on it, even if you don't tell anybody, just by doing that exercise, cognitive exercise, and writing them down, you'll see how much inner power it gives you. Please try that and let me know. Okay. See you next week.